Hey gardeners, Amy here. Welcome to my garden. So my husband and I noticed some peeling paint a bit ago, like a big chunk missing. We've been dealing with peeling paint on our eaves for years. We keep repainting it. It keeps peeling off. We actually need to have some roof work done in order to fix the real issue. But either way, we need to prep the house to get it painted. And this is something that I get asked a lot by my clients. We're having painting done. We're having roofing done. We're having some kind of work done to the outside of our house. How do we get the gardens ready? So I thought I'd share with you a few of my favorite tips for how to prep your garden for work being done on your house. I've made a checklist for all of these things, and I will link it down in the description below. It's not behind any kind of a funnel or information wall or anything. It's literally just a Google Drive link. Click on that, and then you can print a document that corresponds with this video. First things first is before painting or work is done, you'll want to trim everything back from the house. You need to give the workers at least a foot of clearance between your house and the plants so that they can get back in there and work, at least enough space for their paint brushes, preferably even more if it's possible. And honestly, you shouldn't have very much plant material growing that close to your house anyway, because plants do tend to rub on the house. They can rub off the paint. They can damage things. So you should have some clearance between the plants and your house anyway. So cut back everything that you can at least a foot away from your house. Anything that you can't cut back, do your best to tie it back. So like my goldenrod right here, I'm not cutting that back. It's about to bloom. I don't want to cut it right now. This would be a bad time. But what I will do is I will tie something around it and pull it away from the house so that the painter can get behind the plant to the house to paint, and then I can untie it and all will be well. Do your best to remove or tie up any floppy stems or anything that could get stepped on. For instance, I have a milkweed growing right out of my goldenrod that's kind of flopping over because it's looking for its own space of sunshine. I'm going to have to tie that up along with the goldenrod so that it's out of the way and doesn't get stepped on. Anything that can be moved away from the work area, you should go ahead and do that. And pots, garden decorations like gnomes and flamingos, whatever, statuary, should be moved away from the areas where there will be work done. Trellises are one of the hardest things to move because there is usually a plant attached to them, and they're often attached to the wall in addition to having a plant that's growing in the ground. So what I usually recommend for trellises specifically is during the work, lift it up out of the ground and just lean it away from the house. This way, the trellis itself is out of the way, but the plant itself doesn't have to be moved. You can brace it up on something, whether it be a ladder or a brick or another stake, whatever, but brace it up so it's not squishing the plant. But that way it gives the painters or workers, whatever work you're having done, some space to work behind the trellis, and then just put it back when the work is done and the paint is dry. Another thing you might consider doing, depending on the type of work being done, but I don't always recommend it, is to cover garden beds or cover plants with a breathable drop cloth, like a shade cloth or an old sheet. And the reason you would do this is so that you don't get drips of paint on your plants. Or if you're having roofing torn off, it would be easier to pick up. But the problem with it is that the painters won't be able to see low-growing plants. So you're actually increasing the risk of your plants getting stepped on. So keep that one in mind, but don't treat it as gospel or anything. You'll really want to think about when it's appropriate to put down a drop cloth before you just cover everything up. If you do decide to use a drop cloth, make sure it breathes. So a fabric or some kind of cloth that will allow sunlight and air to get through. If you put plastic down, it's going to cook your plants. So don't use plastic. And also, don't leave them down for very long. You really don't want to cover your plants all day and night for several days at a time. It would be put the cloths down while the work is being done and pick it up as soon as the work is over. Next is marking things off and communicating with the work crew. If you have any areas where you do not want them stepping or even going into, you will want to communicate that in advance. And then you want to mark off the areas with clear signage or survey tape or something that they cannot miss, because even if you tell the foreman, that may or may not get passed down to the actual crew that's doing the work, and somebody might step in there. Accidents happen, is all I'm saying here. So make sure that that is clearly marked and clearly communicated in advance that this area is off limits. Please do not step here. This includes any areas where there's sensitive irrigation like drip lines or anything that they could step on, whether it be seedlings or newly emerging bulbs or anything like that where they just should not be stepping. Another thing to ask, especially with paint, is if they have a low VOC type of paint that's safer for being around plants, especially if it's around a vegetable garden. There are some paints that are more harmful and some that are less harmful to plant material. If you're having any kind of demolition work done, like a roof, if you're taking off an old roof, you'll want to have drop zones designated. And what I mean by that is when they take the shingles off, they should have a place to throw it that's safe, that's not going to squish all of your prized plants. You can mark that off by lining it with a tarp or with some kind of survey tape, however you think best and whatever will work for your work crew. But you'll want to have spaces designated that's easy for them to throw the debris and keep up their regular pace of work. The day before the work is done, and I would say between each day that the work is being done, make sure to water all the areas well. Being stepped on is extremely stressful for plants, even if the workers are being super careful to step between your plants. Having the soil compressed like that over and over and over again is really, really stressful. And the way to repair that kind of damage to the soil and make it a little less stressful for your plants is by watering. So water deeply the day before, during, and the day after all of this work is being done. Also, you will want to pause any automatic sprinklers and timers and anything that is in the areas where your folks will be working so that they don't get sprayed by your irrigation, because that's always unpleasant to be working in an area and then suddenly getting sprayed. Make sure to turn off your sprinklers. After the work is done, here's some ways to help your garden recover from this very stressful event. Rinse off the foliage with a sprinkler hose. That way you get any paint or dust or anything that landed on them off of the foliage so the plants can photosynthesize as normal. And again, deep water. Obviously, remove all the drop cloths, twines, coverings, anything that you use to hold the plants away from the house. Check for any damage and remove any broken stems. So there will be some follow-up pruning, most likely, because damage happens. Unfortunately, we don't like it, but it happens. We have to give the workers a little bit of grace here. They're doing some heavy-duty work. Some stuff is going to happen. Put all your pots and any garden decor back where it was. In the days following the work, keep an eye on your plants and water as needed, either lightly or deeply, if your plants are showing signs of stress. And lastly, touch up any areas that got trampled. So what I like to do as far as touching up mulch, I call it fluffing. I use an expandable rake or a lightweight rake, and I just kind of gently rake and back and forth shake the rake a little bit on the mulch, and that gives it a nice fluffed up look as if I just put it down. That will make your garden look nice and finished, as if nothing ever happened. All right, let's dive in. Care up, let's get started. Previous owners of my house planted this rhododendron right next to the house, which was not really great in all thinking long term. Same with the weeping cherry. It was planted 3 feet from the foundation. Not good. So pruning these is a constant battle. I love the plants, so I'm not going to take them out. It's just a constant pruning thing that I have to do every year. I have full videos on how to prune both of these plants with the help of my friend Alan, the arborist, and I will link those in the description down below, as well as up here at the top if you have any rhododendrons you need help pruning. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was valuable to you. If you learned something, make sure to tell me by hitting the like button. If you have any questions or comments or other tips to share, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please do that so you get more gardening content in your video feed every week. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you in the garden.